Hello, my name is Abir and I'm from Skill Curve, and today we will be applying the retro rule in Power BI. The retro principle is known as the 80-20 rule. It is a theory maintaining that 80% of the output of the given situation or the system is determined by the 20% of the input. Practical examples of a retro principle would be 80% of your sale come from the 20% of your client. So let's get started on our lab. The first thing we will do after logging in is to create a measure table to make sure that I have the grouped by my measures together. So in order to do that, we will click on Home tab and then select Enter Data. Now here, let's just name it as Measure Table and then click on Load. Now let's create our new measure. Let's click on the new measure table that we just created and select a new measure. Let's create a measure for total sales. To do that, let's type in total sales equal to SUMX function because we want to iterate the table, and the table we want to use here is the order table. For the expression, we will use the order table amount and then multiply it by the selling price in the order table. This is just simply the total sale. So let's press enter. Now let's just delete column 1 that was created by default by right-clicking on it and press delete. This is just a dummy column. So now let's discuss the retro rule. So let's check whether the retro rule applies in this dataset or not. So as we saw earlier, it states that the 20% of the customer will deliver 80% of the result. So let's check that. Create a new measure. So let's type in the formula as top 20% equals to, and then let's define the variable here. It's a good practice to use the variables to make your code easier to read. So let's call this as customer percent and equal that to distinct count and refer that to as customer ID, and then multiply that with 0.2 so that we can get the 20% of the customers. And then let's return the calculate function, the total sales, and we will use the filter function here so that we want the total sales of the 20% of the customers that made the most sales. So we will use the values from the customer ID from the orders table. And then we will use the rank X formula and then values of the customer ID and rank it by the total sales, and then sort it by the descending order, and then write less than equal to the customer percent and then close the bracket here as well. Now click enter. Let's visualize that. Click on the total sale and top 20% and you can see the bar chart here. We can also add in the data labels as well to see the values. Now this graph does not look like it is 80% of the result here by looking at the values and the chart. So to check that, we will create a new measure. Right click on the new measure and say retro true is equal to divide function, and the numerator will be the dot 20% and the denominator would be as the total sale. And as an alternative value, we will say that it is not available or not valid. So let's press enter and visualize that. Now let's click on retro rule here, and then we can choose the card as visual, and let's change that to percent here by clicking on the measure tools and then click on the percentage sign here. This is 58.20% and this is not the 80% of the result here. So the retro rule does not apply here in our dataset. We can inform that to the report consumer about the results by showing these graphs. This ends our lab here. Thank you so much for watching.